The Department of Conservation to remove trees killed by invasive bug infestations. A total of 24 trees are being removed from Finley River Park and Neil Grubaugh Park.
And residents of Ngochi village in Githunguri County have been left scratching their heads after a mysterious fire.
Oh my God!
These trees are so dangerous, it is potential for you to touch them with the saw and part of it or all of it to fall directly flat on top of you.
Thousands upon thousands of cankerworms that are eating up their trees. They're climbing up, they're getting up to their trees, they're eating their leaves.
I have shoveled feces off of my driveway. Oh my God!
From ancient trees to fallen logs, the world around us is hiding crazy surprises inside. Jumping roots, shiny treasures, and things that bump in the trunk. Join us to explore the astonishing discoveries people have made inside trees that left them speechless.
Oh my God!
Friends set off on a mysterious hunt in the jungle. They heard tales from villagers about something hidden in old oak trees. One friend chopped a tree while the other filmed their adventure. At first, only a few creatures emerged. Disappointed, they tried another tree. When the second tree fell, they were amazed to see hundreds of wriggling surprises coming out like hidden treasure. They quickly filled a glass jar with the creatures, their shiny bodies shining in the sunlight. Back in town, they showed their finds at the market. A vendor told these were carpenter worms, a valuable find. They sold all the worms to him and got money for their jungle adventure. Tiny guardian. A family was on a picnic in the park when one of them came across something odd. In a big old tree, there was a small hole, and peeking out of that hole was a tiny face.
This the spot. Nah, come back out.
The face looked almost human, but it was only as big as the man's hand. It had big eyes and pointy ears. The tiny creature was watching the man closely. Then, in a blink, it disappeared back into the tree. The man rubbed his eyes, not sure if he really saw what he thought he saw. Could it have been a year? The wild little people from old stories? He decided to keep the secret of the tiny guardian of the forest to himself. Fish tree. A villager was searching for a hidden water source and suddenly he came across a tree with a small hole in its trunk. Tiny water drops were seeping out. Curious, the villager cut down the tree. To his amazement, water gushed out, bringing fish with it. The hidden stream had found its way into the hollow tree. The villager quickly grabbed his bucket and filled it with flopping fish. He had discovered an unusual way of fishing in a place with no visible water. Happy with his odd but lucky catch, the villager headed home with his bucket full of fish. Tree gun. A man visited an antique shop with a strange wooden piece. He claimed it was very valuable and asked for $18,000. After bargaining, he lowered the price to $15,000. The shop owner thought it was still too expensive and couldn't buy it. The man explained that he had found this item at an Old West collectibles auction.
I found this piece at an Old West collectibles auction. I think it's worth more than money.
As he was leaving, he revealed what made the piece so special. Inside the wood was an old gun grown into the tree. It was from a cottonwood in Wyoming, missing its trigger and reloading lever. Hidden survivor. In North Florida, a hiker saw a ruined tree trunk making a slight movement. He picked it up and found a weird animal inside. It looked like a snake with tiny legs. The hiker watched it closely. It didn't seem to mind the dry forest. After checking it closely, he came across this was a special salamander called a two-toed amphuma, who can live in very dry places by making a slimy cover to stay wet when it's too dry. He did not want to disturb it, so he left the place and continued on his way. Headless Reptile.
Oh my God!
A woodcutter was doing his routine job when he made an unusual discovery. As he cut down a tree, he saw something strange inside. A creature without a head slithered out of the trunk. It kept moving but didn't leave the area. Worried and confused, the woodcutter called wildlife experts for help. He waited for them to arrive, keeping an eye on the unusual creature. When the experts came, they examined it closely and explained what it really was. It wasn't a headless snake, but a large worm that had been living inside the tree. Yes, you heard right.
Oh my God!
Strange tree pattern. Deep in the forest, the local was taking his usual stroll. Suddenly, he froze. Something wasn't right with the trunk tree. Getting closer, he saw it was covered in small, fuzzy creatures. They were brown with darker markings and packed tightly together, looking almost like tree bark. The man watched quietly, not wanting to disturb them. He took a video of the fascinating sight before continuing his walk. Later, he showed the video to a forest ranger who identified the creatures. They were hairy caterpillars, grouped together, as they often do for protection. Creepy insect.
Oh my God!
A kid screamed as it saw a strange bug on a tree in their garden. When a family got close, magic happened. They were just checking out the apples when suddenly a baby girl pointed at a strange bug sitting on a tree branch. Just when they got closer to it, the bug changed its shape. It turned into a tiny man with wings, like a ferryman, who looked at him for a second. Then in a blink, it flew away. They got scared and ran home, excited to tell everyone. Dad said it was probably just a weird insect, but the kids were sure they saw a real fairy.
Oh my God!
Jumping roots. A group of gardeners were trimming plants when they spotted something unexpected. Whenever they touched a certain plant, it seemed to jump away. At first, only one worker noticed and told others. No one believed him, so they tried touching the plant too. To their surprise, it really did move. The workers were puzzled as plants don't usually jump around. So what could these strange things be? Then one team member identified them as ginseng roots. Quickly, the workers tied red ribbons around the jumping roots. Like magic, the ginseng stayed put. Now they knew the secret of the garden's mysterious moving plants. Mysterious tree sound. Wild photographers were filming some shots in the forest when a man heard a strange sound coming from inside a tree. He couldn't believe his ears. He rushed home to get a big saw. His friends thought he was crazy, but he was sure something was trapped inside. As he started cutting, there was no sign of anything unusual. His friends started to doubt him, but suddenly, a dog popped out of the tree trunk. Everyone was shocked. How did a dog get inside a tree? The man was happy. He trusted his ears and saved the poor animal. Fountain tree. Imagine a tree that could shoot water like a fountain. In a little village, that's exactly what people saw. Water gushed out of a tree trunk, splashing and sparkling in the sun. Scientists raced to the village to unlock the mystery. They discovered secret underground streams beneath the trees. When heavy rains came, these streams got too full, forcing water up through the hollow tree trunk. This magic water tree only appeared for a couple of days each year. It wasn't really magic, but an amazing trick of nature. Soon, people from all over came to see the tree that cried rivers. Mummified Mystery.
He's a 4-year-old hound dog, and they found him near the Georgia-Alabama line.
Deep in a Georgia museum, a mummified mystery with a wagging tail has been puzzling visitors for years. In Waycross, Georgia, there's a museum called Southern Forest World. It teaches people about forests, but its star attraction is something very unusual: a mummified dog named Stucky. Stucky was a hunting dog who got stuck in a hollow tree while chasing an animal. Sadly, he couldn't get out, but something amazing happened. The tree's special conditions turned Stucky into a mummy. The airflow in the tree dried Stucky out, and the tree chemicals preserved his body. When loggers cut the tree, they found Stuck inside. Now he's in the museum, teaching visitors about nature's surprises.
Lots of great pictures, including one of Stucky the mummified dog.
Cubs rescue. Something strange was happening at Little Pine Lake. For 2 whole days, a cabin owner heard loud cries coming from the forest. It sounded like animals in trouble. She followed the noise and found a big surprise. 2 little noses were sticking out of a tree. Can you guess what they were? Bear cubs! The tiny bears had climbed into a hole in the tree but couldn't get out. Oh no! Firefighters came to save the day. They cut a special window in the tree trunk. Pop! Out came 2 hungry, thirsty bear cubs. They ran off into the woods, happy to be free from their tree trap. What a wild adventure!
Within minutes, the cubs were free.
Mysterious discovery. Forest police, during patrolling, spotted up in a high tree branch a deer skull was stuck, its pointy antlers sticking out.
And we go on the back side, we just got some points sticking out.
As they looked closer, they saw scratch marks on the tree trunk. They figured the deer must have been rubbing its head on the tree and got tangled up. Some bones were scattered around too. Carefully, they pulled the skull free. Instead of keeping it, they decided to do something smart. They took the skull to a research lab, hoping scientists could study it and learn more about what happened to the deer in the forest. Backyard surprise. In a backyard of Connecticut, a homeowner got the big surprise of his life. She said the bear had moved into a hole in her tree. The furry visitor thought he owned the place, snoozing there day and night.
He thinks he owns the tree. He's been living there off and on since the summer.
The bear had been coming and going since summer, but now he was settled in for a long winter nap. Neighbors watched from a safe distance as the sleepy bear peeked out. While some neighbors found the bear interesting, the homeowner wanted him to leave his backyard. She asked wildlife experts to help move the bear to a better spot in the forest, where he could hibernate without scaring the neighbors. Red tree. In New York City, the locals on their walk saw a strange tree with what looked like red bark. But as they got closer, they realized it wasn't barking at all. The tree was covered in thousands of tiny red dots. These dots were moving. The boys looked closer and saw that the tree was actually covered in ladybugs. There were so many ladybugs that they made the whole tree look red.
We saw one earlier mating. Maybe they're in the process of doing hard work.
The boys remembered hearing that ladybugs bring good luck. They also knew that if you hurt a ladybug, it might rain the next day. They decided to leave the ladybugs alone and enjoy the amazing sight of a tree turned red by tiny insects. Wish tree. While studying plants near an old oak tree in Great Britain, a young botanist noticed something strange. The tree was covered in shiny coins. He thought it was a magical money tree. A local saw the boy's excitement and explained the tree's history. It was an old wishing tree from the 18th century. People used to put coins in it to cure illnesses. Over time, more people added coins, turning it into a tradition. The practice had ended, but the tree remained full of old wishes. The boy carefully put a coin he had touched, not wanting to disturb the ancient custom. This memorable encounter is going to be for sure in his research. Hanging bird. A villager saw an unusual sight in the countryside which will shock you. A bird was hanging upside down from a tree branch. The villager stopped to watch, wondering if the bird was okay. It didn't change its position or move at all. The villager thought maybe the bird was doing a strange morning exercise or was in some kind of trouble. After watching him for a while, the villager decided to leave the bird alone. The odd sight of the upside-down bird stayed in the villager's mind for the rest of the day. Hairy tree surprise. In Guerrero, Mexico, a wildlife photographer was quietly observing animals when she noticed a weird tree from the distance. The tree trunk appeared to be covered in thick black hair. He got closer to investigate the strange sight. One friend carefully touched the hair with a stick. Suddenly, the hairy covering came to life. It wasn't hair at all, but a large cluster of daddy long-legged spiders. The spiders quickly scattered in every direction. He was surprised to learn that the spiders had gathered on the tree for safety, creating the illusion of a hairy trunk. Flood discovery. During a hike near a river in Sparta, Ontario, Canada, a tourist explored an area damaged by a massive flood. While walking through the ruined landscape, he spotted something unusual stuck on a tree branch. It was white and oddly shaped. The tourist got closer, curious about what the flood had carried into the tree. As he examined it, he realized what he was looking at. It was an animal skull, bleached white by the sun. The tourist wondered what kind of animal it could have been, amazed at how the powerful flood had lifted it so high into the branches. Tiny worms. A man was enjoying a peaceful walk in the park when he noticed something odd. A nearby tree had blisters all over its bark. Curious, he went to take a closer look. As he gently touched one of the blisters, it crushed away. He saw tiny worms crawling out.
ये क्या चीज कौन सी जीव है ये पेड़ के अंदर?
They were so small he could barely see them. These skinny little worms looked like millipedes. The man realized he had discovered a hidden world inside the tree bark. He carefully covered the spots back up, leaving the tiny creatures to their secret home in the tree. Tree surprise. Two snake charmers went to a beach area looking for snakes. They found a palm tree with a hole in its trunk. One charmer peeked inside and saw something moving. Excited, they carefully cut open the tree. To their surprise, they found not only one, but several cobras inside. The snakes opened their mouths wide, trying to scare the charmers. They carefully caught each one and put them in a large plastic bag. Their mission was successful, and they left the beach with their rare and dangerous find. Trapped soul. Tourists saw something creepy by a riverside. A tree had a woman's body growing out of it. Everyone stared at the strange sight. They wondered if it was real or just an illusion. A local told them this woman was cursed by an evil force. Long ago, she angered a powerful spirit. As punishment, the spirit turned her into part of the tree. Over time, she became more and more like the tree, looking as if she was sleeping, but really a trapped soul. The tree woman became famous. People came from far away to see it. They took pictures and told others. It was the town's most exciting thing to see. Moving ornament. A lady was admiring her Christmas tree when she noticed something unusual. A moving ornament. She looked closer and saw it had fur. Suddenly, it sneezed. The woman jumped back in surprise. She put on gloves and tried to grab it. It ran and hid under the couch. After a tricky chase, she finally caught it. She was shocked to see it wasn't a decoration at all. It was a real possum that had climbed into her tree. She carefully took it outside and let it go. It was the strangest Christmas surprise she ever had. Cow rescue. Cyclists saw a cow behaving strangely near a tree. Well, this was unexpected. The cow was stuck. Its head was trapped between two branches. They quickly got off their cycles to help. Carefully, they worked together to free the cow. It wasn't easy, but they didn't give up. With a final push, the cow's head popped out. It shook itself, looked at them, and walked away. They wondered it might get stuck there while running fast towards the tree. Whatever the reason was, the cow at least had a relief. Soon the cow herder came there and thanked them. The riders felt like heroes. They high-fived each other, happy they could help. Mystery sap. A man was cutting trees in the forest and he hit something that wasn't wood. A red liquid started coming out of the tree. It looked just like blood. The man was scared and confused. He thought the tree might be cursed. As more blood flowed, he ran away, leaving his tools behind. He told everyone about it. People came to see it all over the city. Later, a tree expert explained it was just red sap, a normal thing for a bloodwood tree. But the story of the strange tree became a spooky legend in the town. Tree webs.
As they start to grow and start to forage, the tent will become larger and larger.
The town locals woke up to a strange sight. As they saw, all the trees were covered in white webs. People thought giant spiders had taken over. Kids were scared to go outside. But the truth was even weirder when a local called his biologist friend. He revealed the webs were actually tents made by tiny caterpillars. These eastern tent caterpillars had built silk homes all over town. They ate lots of leaves, making some trees look bare. He said this happens every few years. By summer, the caterpillars would be gone, and the trees would be back to normal. For now, the town looked like a spooky movie set.
They have a sweet tooth. They tend to forage on wild black cherry trees, which has left the trees looking exposed.
Strange find. A woodcutter had explored these woods 100 times, but today was different. As he brushed past an ancient oak, something caught his eye. He found a tiny cave, and as he looked inside, a figure was out there. For a moment, he thought there was a little man watching him from its tree home. Then, in a flash, it was gone. The person blinked, wondering if he just imagined it. He told his friends about it, who said it might be a tree goblin. They went to look at it, but no one saw it again. Later, they learned the goblin was really a bush baby, a small animal with big eyes that lives in trees. The mystery was solved, but the excitement of that magical moment in the forest stayed with them forever. Bicycle tree. In a forest in Washington, campers stumbled upon a weird sight. A tree had a bicycle growing out of it. They rubbed their eyes, thinking they were seeing things. Did that tree grow bicycles instead of fruits? Later, the truth was revealed. Long ago in 1914, a boy chained his bicycle to this tree. He was going off to war and hoped to ride it again when he came home. But years passed and the tree kept growing. It slowly wrapped around the bicycle, hugging it tighter and tighter. Now the bike looks like it's part of the tree. This bicycle tree became a special reminder of the boy who left his bike behind, and how nature can create amazing things if we give it time. Tree that goes boom. This is one tree you definitely don't want to be near or touch, and I'm not kidding. The Sandbox tree poses serious danger to humans. Its seed pods explode, sending seeds flying at high speeds and potentially causing injuries. The tree's toxic sap can cause severe skin irritation, blisters, and even blindness if it gets into your eyes. Ingesting the sap or seeds can lead to poisoning, with symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. To make matters worse, the tree's trunk is covered in sharp spines that can cause physical injury if touched. Crawley surprise. A boy was walking in a rubber plantation in Uthathana, Thailand. Suddenly, he saw something strange on a tree trunk. It looked like a dark patch, but it was moving. As he touched it with a stick, hundreds of spiders scattered. They had been piled on top of each other, creating the moving patch. The spindly spiders quickly spread out over the tree. He wondered where all these spiders came from and why they were grouped. Strange forest find. In a dense forest, nearby villagers came across a strange tree branch covered in delicate white feathery structures. They had never seen anything like it before. The structures looked like tiny intricate flowers or mystical decorations. They took a closer look and noticed that the feathery structures seemed to move slightly, as if alive. Some villagers claimed these were enchanted growths, believed to be the work of forest spirits protecting the woods. The friends decided to take a sample to a scientist to uncover the truth. The scientist examined it closely and revealed it was a rare type of fungus, known for its magical appearance. Stump treasure.
Their gardener actually cut this down. This was a red cedar, just like this tree over here.
Forest officials saw a tree stump that looked different from the others. As they went closer, they noticed something shiny stuck inside it. At first, they couldn't tell what it was. Looking more closely at the stump, they realized it was a horseshoe. They wondered how it got there. One friend suggested that long ago, someone might have put the horseshoe between two young tree trunks. Over time, the tree grew around it, hiding it inside. When someone cut down the tree, this secret treasure was revealed.
Somebody decided to put one of their horseshoes in between the crotches.
Surprise resident. Workers were cutting down a tree in a residential area for construction. As the tree fell, a strange creature appeared out of a hole in the trunk. It fell on the ground, not used to being in the air. It was a raccoon, now suddenly homeless. The raccoon looked confused and scared. It had probably lived in that tree for a long time. Now it would have to find a new home. The workers felt bad for the animal, but they knew they had to finish their job. Unexpected growth.
This hungry tree has actually started to consume this bench.
Have you ever seen a tree in a weird place? In Dublin, a girl found some trees that made her laugh. First, she saw a tree at the park that looked like it was sitting on a bench. Its branches wrapped around the seat like a big wooden hug. She thought maybe the tree got tired and needed a rest. A week later, she spotted something even funnier. A tree growing right through an old car's roof. The tree trunk poked out the top like the car was wearing a leafy hat. She told her dad about the silly trees. He explained that trees are super patient and will grow around anything that comes on their way.
C'est incompréhensible.
Wild Snack Challenge. A group of friends in the Philippines decided to try something wild, eating woodworms called tamalak. They marched into the forest looking for trees with tiny holes where these tiny creatures lived. Soon they found the right tree and collected the wriggly tamalak. Back home, the dare began. One by one, they tasted the woodworms. Some friends loved the flavor, saying it was yummy like oysters. Others made funny faces, not enjoying it at all. It was a crazy adventure trying this unusual Filipino snack. The friends laughed about their mixed reactions, proud of themselves for being brave enough to eat tamalak. Hidden birds. During his walk in the woods, an onlooker heard chirping sounds coming from an old tree. He wondered what was making all that noise. The man carefully peeled back some loose bark on the tree trunk. There, he saw lots of colorful bird nests. There were eggs and baby birds everywhere. Just then, a big green parrot flew out of the tree. It zoomed right past the man's head. The parrot looked upset that someone found its secret home. The man felt bad for scaring the birds. He realized he shouldn't bother their nests. He put the bark back and walked away. He learned it's important to respect animals' homes in nature. Money tree.
Tell me, what is this? Cash, na? Who kept here?
In a small town in Karnataka, there was a mango tree that gave a very strange fruit. It wasn't sweet mangoes, but something even more surprising. One day, just before a big election, some people saw two men putting something in the tree. When the police came to look, they couldn't believe their eyes. There was a box full of money hiding in the branches. The box had 1 crore rupees inside. That's a lot of money. It was like the tree had grown money instead of mangoes. The police took the money away. This funny event reminded everyone of the old saying, money doesn't grow on trees. But for one day in Karnataka, it looked like it did.
Who kept the cash there? Who kept the cash?
Hissing tree. In a dark forest, a woodcutter was walking past a big eucalyptus tree. Suddenly, he heard a strange hissing sound coming from inside the trunk. Curious but scared, he gently cut open the tree. To his surprise, he saw not one, but many shiny, scaly bodies inside. One by one, king cobras began to slither out of the tree. The woodcutter's eyes grew wide as he watched the snakes emerge. He quickly called for help. Soon, animal experts arrived to safely move the cobras. They took the snakes to a new home in the forest, far from people. The woodcutter learned that sometimes trees can hide amazing secrets. Trees as burial sites. Ever seen trees used as burial sites? Hidden in the misty jungles of Taraj, Sulawesi, a group of friends stumbled upon a tree with a secret. Its trunk was covered in strange bumps and hollows, unlike any tree they'd ever seen. A friendly villager appeared and whispered the tree's magical purpose.
The grave belonged to the baby who died before getting thin.
In this special place, tiny babies who had passed away were gently placed inside the tree's hollow. Over time, the tree would wrap its woody arms around them, keeping them safe forever. After listening to the story, they became more curious and decided to spend more time exploring the village, learning about other customs and traditions of the people. Trapped ring. While walking in an old forest, a curious explorer spotted something shiny among the twisted roots of a giant oak tree. As he got closer, he saw a beautiful ring with strange engravings tangled in the rough bark. It seemed to be there for a long time. The explorer wondered how it got there. Did someone hide it long ago? Or did it fall from a traveler's pocket and get trapped by the growing tree? He carefully took a picture of the mysterious ring, leaving it where he found it. The explorer shared his discovery online, hoping someone could solve the puzzle of the ring and the roots. Stuck skeleton. On a daring hike along a riverbank, an adventurer made a spooky discovery. High up in a tree branch, he spotted what looked like a half skeleton. It was trapped in the branches, and the adventurer guessed they might belong to a deer. He noticed watermarks way up the tree trunk, showing how high the river had risen during a big flood. The flood must have carried the poor animal's remains into the tree where they got stuck. Secret nursery. Deep in a forest, a woodcutter was searching for trees to chop. As he walked, he heard tiny chirps coming from a fallen log. He carefully opened the rotting wood. A bunch of baby parrots peeped up at him. Their feathers were still fluffy, and they couldn't fly yet. The woodcutter gently picked them out, but seeing they were too young to leave, he put them back into their cozy log home. He smiled, thinking how clever their mom was to hide them there. The woodcutter moved on quietly, leaving the little parrot family safe in their secret tree nursery. Open discussion. Not all tree trunks hide creepy things. Some have sweet surprises too, just like this old fallen tree that turned out to be packed with secret beehives. Bees buzzed everywhere as golden honey came out. Quick as a flash, the villagers put on gloves and started scooping out the treasure. They filled box after box with sticky, delicious honey. It was like finding a pirate's chest, but filled with nature's gold. The whole village enjoyed honey treats for weeks. Who knew that chopping wood could lead to such a tasty adventure?